Archaic Records.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Archaic Records here with you again. My name is Jamie, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee, here to wish you a very happy Morrissey Monday, a weekly celebration of all things Morrissey and the Smiths. And in this week's episode, I'll be taking a look at one of the more overlooked albums, at least in my opinion, in the entire Smiths musical library, and that is the 2003 album Boomslang by Johnny Marr and the Healers. Now, I probably don't have to tell you this, that Johnny Marr, in my opinion, is the greatest guitar player of all time, or at least my favorite. I do realize when you say that Johnny Marr is the greatest guitar player of all time, you're going to get those kind of classic rock dads who laugh and snicker and lecture you about people like Eddie Van Halen and Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and Yngwie Malmsteen and all that. And I really don't give a good goddamn, because if there's one type of music in this world that is probably my least favorite ever, it is that noodly guitar, like doodly 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 Guitar Hero type music. I used to work with a guy not too long ago, and he was a nice enough fellow, but he used to lecture me all the time at work about the virtues of Eddie Van Halen and music like that, stuff like Yngwie Malmsteen and George Lynch and things like that. And I remember one time I told him, I was like, dude, I just don't really like the Eddie Van Halen noodly guitar stuff. I just don't. To me, that's never made a song better. It only makes songs worse. It's distracting to me. And basically, he's like, you don't know what you're talking about, man. Eddie is God. Eddie is a god, man. You shouldn't even be allowed to listen to music. You just listen to that Euro trash. Except for, instead of the word trash, he used another word, which I'm sure you can imagine. But it is true, in my opinion, Johnny Marr is the greatest guitar player of all time, or at least my favorite. And if you look at that, if you take a look at the Smiths, and the miracle that really was the Smiths during their short-lived era, you had Johnny Marr, who in my opinion was the most unique and greatest guitar player of all time, matched up with Morrissey, who in my opinion is the greatest and most unique singer and songwriter of all time. And added into that recipe, you had one of the most unique and underrated rhythm sections of all time, a rhythm section that drummer Mike Joyce himself described as half punk and half funk. It's no wonder that the Smiths were the greatest band of all time. Now, they may have been short-lived, but that doesn't take away the fact that they were the greatest band of all time. And this Morrissey Monday is a celebration of all things Morrissey and the Smiths. And Johnny Marr, as you know, was in the Smiths from 1982 to 1987. Unfortunately, the band broke up in 1987. Morrissey went on, of course, to form one of the most successful and best solo careers in the history of rock and roll. Whereas Johnny Marr's post-Smiths career has been a little bit more interesting. It's been a little bit more eclectic. As most of you know, right after the Smiths broke up, Johnny Marr briefly played with the Pretenders, officially becoming a member for about a year or so, before joining the band The in 1988. That is a band that he put out 2 records with, Mind Bomb and Dusk. And for me, that's a band I've just never gotten into. I don't know what it is. I've just never really liked the. Now, I realize I'm probably wrong, because so many people really love that band. But to me, that band is just incredibly boring. Even the guitar playing of Johnny Marr, to me, could not help that band. I do own the 2 records that Johnny Marr played on, just, as collection pieces, but I never listened to them. To me, man, that band is just so overrated. They are a total snooze fest. And after Johnny Marr left the band, of course, I had zero interest in them at all. But even the 2 records that he plays on, I really do not get. I've just never been a fan of the. I don't know what to tell you. After that, Johnny Marr, in 1991, he joined forces with Bernard Sumner from New Order to form the band Electronic. Now that is actually a band I actually like a lot more than They put out 3 records. They're self-titled in 1991, Raise the Pressure and Twisted Tenderness. And I actually like all 3 of those records pretty well. Those are records I could talk about and probably will at some point down the line. But it wasn't until 2003 that Johnny Marr ventured into the quote-unquote solo music world with this record right here, Johnny Marr and the Healers. Teamed up with Zach Starkey on drums, the son of course, Beatles legend Ringo Starr, and Alonzo Bevan on bass. This record came out in February of 2003. And I remember when this album came out, there was just like very little buzz about it. There was very little excitement among general music fans. Now I'm sure that within the Smiths, fan community, there was a lot of excitement about this record. I mean, I remember I got it almost immediately when it first came out, but it kind of came out and just went away. There was very little publicity that I remember. I do remember around the time that this record came out that Johnny Marr and the band did perform on David Letterman. They performed the first song off this record called The Last Ride on David Letterman. So that, I guess, was a little bit of publicity for this record. But really, this thing didn't get a lot of hype when it first came out. This record came out in 2003, as I mentioned, produced by Johnny Marr. Generally speaking, I actually really do like this album quite a bit. I think it's a very decent debut solo, if you consider it solo. This is a very decent debut album. Johnny Marr's vocals on here aren't quite as good as they will get later on the records he would start putting out after this one. But of course, the guitar work is absolutely amazing. And again, I think that this is one of the more overlooked records in the kind of Smiths musical world. I actually really kind of like this record. I don't listen to this one all the time. I just recently listened to it again. I've been listening to it over the last couple days because I wanted to talk about it on this video. And I actually kind of like it. I would say if I had to have a couple sort of nitpicks about it, I would say one is that this record came out in 2003. And to me, this record just sounds very 2003. It sounds very kind of locked in time. I don't think it's necessarily aged super well. But if you can look at it, at least through the context of, hey, it was 2003, and this is just what it's going to sound like, I think it's like a pretty decent listen. For me, another sort of nitpick I have over this record, and as I go through the tracks, I'll mention it probably again and again, but this record, and I don't really know how to describe this without sounding insulting, because I don't mean for it to sound insulting, but to me, this record just sounds a little bit too Oasis-y, and nothing against Oasis. I'm a casual fan. There's some of their stuff I really like. But Oasis just cannot even sniff Johnny Marr. I'm sorry, Noel Gallagher, you can't even come close to Johnny Marr. So the fact that this record to me you can kind of hear that this is heavily influenced by Oasis and just a lot of the stuff that was going on around that time. It's a little distracting. But again, this album features Johnny Marr on guitar and vocals, and Zach Starkey on drums, and Alonzo Bevan on bass, and of course there's other guest musicians sprinkled in track to track. I actually do think that Johnny Marr's vocals are very good on this record. I think he would get much better as time went on. But as I said, I think this is a very respectable solo debut album. The first song on this record is called The Last Ride. This is the song that he played on David Letterman when he was on there when this record first came out. I actually really like this song. I think this is one of the stronger songs on the record. It's kind of spacey. It's sort of neo-psychedelic. Good vocals, and of course, the guitar work is absolutely amazing. That is a theme throughout this entire record. The guitar work on here is absolutely amazing. Greatest guitar player of all time, in my opinion. Second song is called Caught Up. This song has a really cool intro. before it just kind of morphs into a real Oasis-y kind of vibe. It's okay. It does sound very 2003. This is one of those songs that sounds sort of dated on the record now. Amazing guitars. Oh my God, I just love this guy. Greatest guitar player of all time. Hands down. Next song is called Down on the Corner. I really dig the acoustic guitar on this song. Again, it's very Oasis-y, but it's not bad. I really like his voice on this song a lot. This song actually has a pretty cool video that they made for this song, but Johnny Marr's voice on this song is really good, and it's sort of funny nowadays, in light of the attempted cancellation of Morrissey. It's become trendy for some people, music fans and people who are quote-unquote in the music industry or in the music press, it's become trendy to say, well, Johnny Marr's a better singer and songwriter than Morrissey anyway. Bow. No, that's not true. Now, I get it if you don't like Morrissey because he's got a loud mouth or he hurts your feelings. But to suggest that Johnny Marr is in any way a better singer or songwriter than Morrissey is just completely absurd. I realize that we live in a world now where a bunch of hypersensitive wieners think that getting your feelings hurt or hearing words that you disagree with are the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to you. But the cancellation of Morrissey will just never succeed, in my opinion. So you can keep trying if you'd like. But that is a great vocal performance on the song Down on the Corner. Cool video, very cool, stripped down acoustic song. I really like that song a lot. The next song is called Need It. Great guitar intro. But beyond that, the song is kind of muted. Vocals, very monotone. The song doesn't really do anything, doesn't really go anywhere. I really like the intro, but apart from that, the song just kind of like dies. It doesn't really do anything. I would say that's one of the weaker songs on the album. Again, not bad. I don't think there's really a lot you could say on this record that's bad. But I would say that that's one of the weaker songs on the album, if you had to pick one. The next song is called You Are the Magic. Again, it's got a real kind of Oasis-y kind of intro, but once this song gets going, I really like it. It's got kind of a groovy Manchester swagger. I really like the vocals. This is a cool, kind of spacey, long, kind of neo-psychedelic song, very Manchester-y in the swagger. The song is almost 8 minutes long, which to me is a little bit, I get, like I've said before, I get a little squeamish when it comes to these really long songs, but I really like the song You Are the Magic. Again, awesome guitar work and pretty decent vocals as well. The next song is called In Betweens. Again, this song is very Oasis-y in my opinion. Is Oasis-y a word? I don't know, but it's very Oasis-y in my opinion. Of course, it's got great guitar work, but all in all, this song is sort of forgettable. Kind of a filler song. Not bad. Kind of a tribute to 2003 Britpop. The next song is Another Day. Man, I really love Johnny's voice on this song. I think this is one of the best vocal performances on the record. Again, not as good as he would become later on. The current string of solo records that Johnny Marr is putting out now, I just absolutely am in love with everything about, including his vocals. But this is a really good vocal performance for him. I think instrumentally, this track is pretty cool. It's simple. It's effective. But it's a good song. Again, I think this is one of Johnny Marr's vocal highlights on the record. Again, if you try to say that he's as good a singer or songwriter as Morrissey, you're just saying that. The next song is Another Day. Nope, just did that one. Next song is Headland. This song is just a very hypnotic instrumental. It's about 1.5 minutes long. It's not bad. It's just a very simple, hypnotic kind of instrumental. I do like the guitar work, of course, on it. But very good song for the most part. The next song is called Long Gone. This one's kind of spacey. Again, it's got some like neo-psychedelic influences on it. Kind of an Echo and the Bunnymen influence kind of song, which is refreshing compared to the stuff on it that sounds too much kind of like Oasis, to me at least. I like the vocals on this song again, and again, the guitar work on this song is absolutely amazing. Long Gone, that's one of the better songs on the album, I think. And again, I like the fact that it's very like kind of neo-psychedelic, very like Manchester-y. I like that. The next song is Something to Shout About. This song has really beautiful guitar work. I feel like this song is the closest song on the record to being kind of Smiths-ish sounding. Of course, it falls short of being, a Smiths song, but I would say that the song Something to Shout About is probably the most Smiths-influenced song on the record. I really like it. Again, it's not a Smiths song, but I think it's as close as he gets on this record to that. And the album ends with a song called Bangin' On. This is probably my second favorite song on the record. I really like this song. This song actually is kind of a precursor to the stuff that would come later on. To me, the song Bangin' On kind of sounds more like the stuff he's doing now. It's very not stuck in 2003. It's very not 2003 Britpop. It's kind of a looking forward song. I actually really like that song a lot. It's probably my second favorite song on the record. So all in all, I think that this record is very listenable. Again, I remember when this record came out, it just had very little hype around it. I got it right when it came out. I thought it was very good. I still think it's not bad. I don't think it's as good as the stuff he's putting out now by any means. But if you haven't checked this record out in a while, I would definitely go back and sort of revisit it. Now, after this record was completed, it wasn't for 10 years until 2013, of course. There was another record under the name Johnny Marr and the Healers that was slated to come out in 2005. But for some reason, Johnny Marr decided to put this band kind of on the side. The back burner, of course, as you all know, he's done a lot of other projects since then, including the Cribs Project. Of course, he worked and toured with Modest Mouse for a couple of years, several years, few years, whatever it was. But it wasn't until 2013 that Johnny Marr returned with his second solo album, The Messenger. And I love this album. I love the entire current string of solo records he's on. I'm going to talk about all of these records in depth on this channel. But this one is the goods. But it wasn't until 10 years until after this one that he came back with the solo material. But again, go back, check out Johnny Marr and the Healers. I think this is one of the more overlooked records in the entire Smiths musical universe. There's a lot of pretty good stuff on here, actually. Like I said, I don't think that this record is earth-shattering. I don't think it's groundbreaking. But I do think it is a very respectable solo debut album by the greatest guitar player of all time. No disrespect to Eddie Van Halen or Yngwie Malmsteen or Joe Satriani or Steve Vai. I don't really care about those guys, but Johnny Marr is the greatest guitar player of all time. Anyway, that was a look back at 2003, Johnny Marr and the Healers, Boomslang. Go back. Give it a check out again if you haven't in a while. I just recently re-listened to it. I found it to be rather enjoyable. Definitely kind of a trip back in time. It is, like I said, a little bit frozen in 2003, but there's nothing wrong with that. I was much younger back then, at least. Anyway, thanks again for checking out this video. This is Archaic Records. My name is Jamie, and I'm coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. If you liked this video, come back every Monday for Morrissey Monday, my weekly celebration of all things Morrissey and the Smiths. Remember to check out and support your local record store. Listen to Johnny Marr's Boomslang. And check back for more record content on Archaic Records. All right, thanks a lot. I'll talk to you next time.